between the both of them. We do have the picks and bans, so let's slip straight into the vetoes for this series. Dan, it's going to be myself and you covering this little bust-up between these boys. What's your thoughts on this? Are you excited for these champion picks, mate? Is this really tickling your pickle?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the initial thing I see from at least Maxter is he's gone mobility as much as he possibly can with the Slash and Athena both in his pool. Nothing heavy in there at all. So I quite like that style. We did see Zenaku favouring that more towards the heavy champions throughout at least the latter stages of his progression in Pro League in the last few weeks, and that's why we see a Keel in there, Sorlag. So definitely likes to play on the fact that he can play defensive with those aspects, but overall there isn't any major discrepancies between the two. I guess the one I would point out is going to be that Slash versus the Keel on Molten. I think Keel's a rather unusual pick for Molten. I don't know how Zenaku's going to play that, and he could find himself in a lot of trouble just to the expanse of that map and the speed of Slash we've seen in the past. That can become very troublesome unless you're playing absolutely perfectly with your positioning and your opening rockets. So we'll see what he can do on that map.
I'm quite excited though, actually. After seeing those picks, I'm looking forward for the Argentinian agility onslaught from that man. I reckon there's going to be some speed, it's going to be fast, it's going to be furious. But if we had to try and come up with some keys to victory then for Maxter going into this series, Flea, what would you feel like has to be his master key? Where is his potential edge he could have over a player like Zenaku coming into this?
I mean, I think it's the speed. Dan already mentioned it. He's got a few very fast champions, and that could totally take his opponent by surprise, especially when his opponent is picking two heavy champions. So if he can outplay them in that sense by relying on that extra mobility that he has, whereas his opponent on a map like Molten, playing Keel, you really don't have much to work with at all. So if you can just close the gap or keep harassing them throughout the entire game with that additional speed, that is probably going to be Maxter's best strat towards a victory, in my opinion.
Well, let's find out then. It seems like we're ready to get underway with our second best of 5 of the day. Another Challengers game, this one for the North Americans. It is Zenaku taking on Maxter. Australia versus Argentina. Daniel, are you ready?
I guess so.
Well, let's get it then.
Go.
We're straight in, mate. I'm excited. I'm glad we're starting off this series as well. And the LGs are instantly out, mate. No dilly-dallying.
No, they're both off to a flying start. We've got the Visor, which isn't the most traditional pick on Awoken, but as we always discuss, you know, information is king in Duel, and that's what Visor has in abundance, whereas Doom is obviously the pretty standard champion to be selecting here just because of that double jump ability to get across the map and control the mid ground. Zenaku obviously favouring that more, I guess, methodical playstyle, as that's what we've seen in previous weeks.
Alright, well, a little bit of turmoil already then. A couple of shots being connected, going out for the main man himself, Zenaku. Trying to come in and at least put up some kind of a precedent to open this game up. Still just getting those spams off early. But a minute deep into this one, not too much commotion coming through from Maxter. Just playing it safe, playing for the major items and trying not to give up mid-control initially.
Yeah, and that's something you need to at least address in this type of scenario, is that as much as now, in late condition, as we do have an engagement here up on the high ground, Maxter dropping down with a good rocket, as much as the conditions for these players are the same, we always talk about, you know, when you get to LAN and the pressure and the environment, etc., as much as the home conditions are the same, the pressures of being in a knockout tournament are not. That's what the weekly Pro League doesn't have for a lot of these players. And so being in this type of situation will affect how they play, how they think about the game. And as we just saw from Garpy, it can really change your play style. So that's one of the biggest facets to consider, is you can't let yourself get knocked off your game. Particularly in a relegation match like this where every frag counts. And that's probably why we see such a passive start from both of these players.
It's also probably a little bit of feeling each other out as well, right? Because obviously, how many times have these two actually been able to get practice in recently? For Zenaku, living in Poland, probably trying to prioritize more European opposition in the practice games he's been going into. Coming into this could be an unknown quantity, potentially for the both of them, but here's a little bit of a known affair. They do love a scrap, and the fight's starting to come through. Lots of damage done. That was a lovely connection with those 3 shots down, leaving him incredibly low on the stack. Almost finished off. The LG should do it, and Zenaku claims the first opening frag 2 minutes in.
Yep, nice methodical play. Maxter slightly overcommitting there, did hit a couple of good rails and perhaps filled in with false hope that he was getting Zenaku lower than he was, but picking up the Mega gave Zenaku the extra boost he needed to get in top of Maxter and finish him off. As he pushes in, Maxter's slightly out of position and far too early to commit to this Mega. Completely mistimed that and should not have been around.
Did seem a little bit too overly aggressive.
Oh.
Alright. Here's little rocket coming through. Zenaku. I want to see if he keeps up this level of aggression as well, Dan. That was one of the things that we were talking about, trying to balance around the ping. We know Nosfer does it. He tries to take the fights rather than waits for them to come to him. And Zenaku, he's been adopting that mantra over some of the later weeks of the Quake Pro League, doing it here now as well during the finals. He's bullying Maxter into the early rounds.
He is bullying Maxter, but also Maxter's not playing particularly cutesy at the moment. He's kind of walking into Zenaku far too early at all these item pickups. As we see, all these encounters are being made 5, 6, 7 seconds before items are being spawned, and Zenaku's just getting in position and manning up against Maxter with a bigger stack. So Maxter needs to reassess how he's approaching these encounters, at least get the timing back on point, and rather than hard committing, try to deal some damage from range and get away, because at the moment he's not doing enough damage to make it worth his while, and in reality, that's why he's down 3 frags in 3 minutes.
Yeah, you probably do want to try and calm it down a little bit, right? Reset, play the basics first. Get the major items back in your favor. Try and sort out those rotations. Zenaku finally knocked down low as well. Straight out of there. Smart use. Bail out of the situation. Rebuild. Whoa. He's still taking damage though, Dan. Maxter, showing a few signs of life at least. And it's very early doors. We've only just passed the 4-minute mark. So there's a chance if he comes a knocking, looking like the Grim Reaper as he busts out the scythe towards middle, but he can't quite behead Zenaku. Just mere damage.
No, but that's exactly it. I was about to say that perhaps dropping back onto the rail would be a good point advantage for him as he was trying to take these mid-range fights with a stack. And so let's see what he can do in control now. Nice! That's twice now he's caught Zenaku out there, so really 3 times. Can he hit the follow-up rail? No, but he can finish him off with the lightning gun if he can get around this corner, which he does, and he doesn't take enough damage in return, so he's in a really healthy position here, Jackie.
I mean, as soon as he started hitting those rail shots, Dan, after that third one, it felt like something has clicked in his head, and he's thought, all right, I'm back. Hey, it's just the Arsenal prioritization. Just needed to get my rail on the go. Because he looks quite precise with the weapon, and he's really trying his luck with it now. Another 90 coming through as he'll connect that. This is the aggression we wanted to see lit. Finally, he misses one, showing that he is human once again. There's only a 1 frag dividend between the both, and the rocket starts to come through. It's tied up, Dan. This is going to be a game on our hands. Here we go.
Well, he is Argentinian. He's in the same team as Nosfer. I presume they practice together, so I'm sure he's taken a lot of the learning from the way Nosfer plays on ping and plays in general. Not surprising to see some great rail and aggression coming out from the Argentinian as he continues the onslaught here over by the heavy. Zenaku needs to get out because he does not have a lot to work with. If he does drop down, he might steal it away, and he did have the rail, which I didn't realize. Good usage of that weapon. This is dangerous though from Maxter to go up there. He did know that Zenaku was counting the corner, so it is a high-risk play. He's a high-risk player, it seems so far.
It's all about the rail at the minute. This is everything for both of these boys. It's their lifeline here on Awoken. It seems to have been the weapon that has woken the sleeping giant of Maxter, but Zenaku, he's fighting back. A huge dent done as he pounds Maxter in the chest, leaving him incredibly low. That'll get his heart rate going up, especially with these rockets detonating so close to him. Not an ideal spot to be in, at least a little bit of damage done back as he'll fire off the rocket, trying to play around the angle, but that is the denial of the Mega. That will go the way of Zenaku. He's got control again, and he's looking to use it to his advantage.
No, and as you said, I think it does seem like something's clicked in Maxter. He's playing more strategical now. He is taking those corners. He's playing the range game a lot better than he was in the opening encounters. So perhaps getting that bit of nerves dusted off with a few frags that he got. Look at those rails coming through, using the piercing sight to perfection. Zenaku realizing that now, does back off himself after eating 2 very tasty rails from Maxter.
Good position to be in. He saw a bit of his arm as well as he was crossing after picking up the Mega. The Maxter, good spot in terms of HP. Playing for the audio, saw a foot and took some damage as well. Zenaku, all right, it's the battle of the rails, Dan. And Zenaku's starting to run rampant with it. He's got his nice and warm.
Yep, responding to the way Maxter was playing, because he was caught off guard, as we saw quite a lot after Maxter got that opening frag, and ever since then Zenaku has taken slightly more care in his longer range positioning than he was in the opening few minutes. But Maxter does take up a rather... I mean, overall, he takes up some rather unusual positions, which is not a surprise how much Zenaku has been caught out, but now he has caught Maxter down below. Maxter is low. He did pick up the heavy, but he is still low, and that up the jump pad with the direct means Zenaku needs to walk away with his tail between his legs. Can he hit a rail? And he does. Zenaku needs to get out. He's very low, and the Mega's just about to come up. Zenaku's stuck down here. Maxter jumps down early, though. That could be his death.
I mean, he's bold, he's brash, he's low on HP, but he doesn't give a damn about it. He is not asked about his own livelihood. Yeah,
it doesn't give a damn.
It's fantastic to witness.
But this is exactly what you need in these type of matchups, is the balance between, as you say, that confidence and brashness, as well as the strategy. If you can get that balance, there's no reason why you won't stay in this or qualify to the Pro League.
Oh yeah. It's all about the confidence, Dan. Quake is confidence, and
it is
certainly got a lot of it.
There's nothing worse than going into a matchup like this and changing the way you play. And it doesn't seem like Maxter's doing that so far. He's hitting so many rails.
I suppose the salient point is as well, right? He's wasted so much time after tying this up. We're now at 60 seconds left. So in reality here, this game gets an awful lot closer than it initially was. It now could really come down to just a one frag lead for either one of them with the amount of time that's been wasted. They're consistently doing chip damage to one another. So we're going to be left dangling on a thread to see who takes this towards the end.
Yeah, Maxter doing good damage, but the thing is he's hitting one rail on pickups. He needs to try and get a trap in place or deal some damage outside of pickups, because it's not doing enough to stall the onslaught of Zenaku as he's just patrolling the items. Yes, Zenaku's not making a move at the moment, but unless Maxter does some serious damage, it is going to become like an inevitable amount of pressure coming out from Zenaku. And it just means, as the momentum begins to shift, more and more pressure goes onto Maxter as he's reliant to hit more and more shots to stay in the game. And it is then just a test of time until eventually you crumble.
Alright, he's playing it out for the sudden death. That's what he wants. Wasting those last few seconds takes us in to where it's all coming down to this last frag. You could see the execution was there, and the game plan would have been amazing if it worked. He gets the tags off, ready for the teleportal read as well as he swings round and slams him with a rocket. They both scarper, trying to scrounge their minor
That's what
items.
he needed to do. That's the kind of trap I was talking about. He did significant amount of damage to Zenaku and is one in the Mega. And now the momentum shifts firmly in Maxter's favour as he has shown us much more prowess when he's been in control than Zenaku. He's been playing a bit more passive.
Oh. Isn't going to concede that heavy just yet. Actually playing around it. Zenaku's still on the rotation. Got that middle control. Maxter will finally pick that up and slap it on his chest to give himself a little bit more armor to play with. Now we'll start to get aggressive. Launches himself in. Zenaku, the double rocket will take him down. Maxter actually takes it down. He's blown up the smithereens.
He has. I mean, he played incredibly impressively after the opening few minutes, where he did show a little bit of nerves and a little bit inexperienced, and just, I think, adjusted to the way in which Zenaku was playing and completely shone through. I mean, his mechanical skill was out of this world. The amount of rails he was hitting, the rockets he was hitting, I was hugely impressed.
Yeah. I mean, it looked like coming into it, right? At first, it was like, okay, they're both playing incredibly slow. They were feeling each other out. It didn't really seem like there was really a fire lit under him. He was playing quite aggressively. There was, as we said, no real confidence. What was it, like 4 minutes into the game? Something just clicked. He started hitting those rails. 3 rounds on the trot, that was it. He was like, okay, I'm in. Just starts playing his heart out and looks like what we wanted to see. Take it to him. Play aggressively, especially in the environment both of them are in, right? With the ping being a big condition. You've got to play like that.
Absolutely. And Zenaku, this is what we see from Zenaku, right? He plays a very good methodical game of Quake, and that's what Maxter played to for the opening minutes. He was taking his encounters in and around the items and not coming through. As soon as he adjusted, he played a bit more rail, he got that frag, and momentum shifted. He kept the pace up. Zenaku couldn't cope with it when Maxter was in control because he was taking these absolutely obtuse angles, hitting rails out of nowhere, and just keeping the pressure onto Zenaku. Whereas when Zenaku was in control, he was playing relatively stable throughout, just running the items. And as soon as Maxter made that adjustment, he was taking up these angles and hitting good rails and keeping Zenaku at bay. And because of that chip damage, Zenaku didn't have the confidence to follow up on a lot of these item pickups he was getting.
Yeah. I mean, it is rough, but that's the way it's going to crumble on the opening map. As you can see here are the individual map stats for that one as well. Awoken obviously being the map and Maxter being the victor. That's a big win for him to come out with as well. A fantastic way to open up the game. Rail accuracy, 47%. I mean, I'm surprised it's not higher. Some of the shots he was hitting there was absolutely disgusting, Daniel.
I mean, the rail accuracy is pretty standard, but they were clutch shots and they were just shots in the right moments at the right times. He wasn't missing the ones that counted. I think that's the thing. He was taking a lot of them as well, right? There was a lot of just pot shots that were risky, and so that isn't reflective of the effective damage he was coming out with.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it'll knock it down over a period of time, but as you said, it was the impact shots with the rail that mattered most. Those were the clutch ones. Like, there was a spree of them that essentially put him into the game and kept him in. I also did like the fact that he wasn't a bit of a one-trick pony as well. Obviously, from what we saw there, he could play that fast-paced game, but knew when to play control, knew when to slow down the tempo and waste time till he got into a position where he felt comfortable to attack, literally taking it all the way to sudden death.
Absolutely. And Vyze is not the easiest champion to play on that map either. And I really enjoyed the way he was taking up these fun little angles around the teleporters, down in the water areas, buying a little bit of time here and there until his piercing sight was up. And he used it very effectively as well, which is, again, it's not a traditional pick on that map, so it's something he's adopted around his playstyle and showed us why it can work.
Well then, our second map in the series. We get a bit of Molten, so this one should hopefully be nice and hot. I'd like a Scorcher, Dan. What about you?
Well, if his first map is anything to go by, then absolutely.
Oh, let's get back into it then.
This is the one I did point out I was a little bit worried for Zenaku, just because Keel isn't, in my mind anyway, the strongest of picks on this particular map. The use of the grenades isn't in this kind of more expansive setup. There's not enough corridors or choke points to really maximize them compared to something like Veil.
Yeah.
Yes, it's more difficult to play, and there's a lot of routes. I'm American now apparently. For
I mean, we are covering the NA scene though.
For the yeah, I'm just going full gung ho today for Slash to get in and out as well. So I do feel on paper he should struggle. And we already see that coming out as he's missed out on that heavy, but still got a very good fighting stack himself.
To be fair, you are Dan Dimmadome with the Dugdale Dimmadome, but Maxter is looking to try and play with some aggression. I'm actually glad, as we said, right? He's on the Slash. She is fast. If anything, probably a bit too fast for her own good at the moment in terms of the balance of the game. She is far too quick in some of the plays that can come through. And with the level of aggression he was playing on Awoken, it could suit him really well here.
Yeah, and this is a map notorious for fun rail angles and creativity, so hoping for big things from Maxter as he does get fragged. Great peak rail coming out, the last pixel hitting the ankles of Maxter there. Unexpected. This is what we get from Zenaku. Yeah. This is what we get from Zenaku. It's solid execution, solid methodical play. I just think he needs to stretch the strategy and the traps aspect of the way he plays the map, because it is all fairly simple. And once I feel that you get a grip of it, it's the hardest to counter. But look at that. Showing us why Keel is strong.
Yeah, this is worrying if you're Maxter at this point, because Zenaku, oh my goodness, he's starting to use all of that weight against the Slash on the kill right now. Just pushing in aggressively, using the pineapples as a distraction method, slapping him with the rail, slaughtering him with a shotgun. 3 frags in, we're only 2 minutes deep. It seems like this has really woken him up. He's finally ready to rumble. The LG's coming through, but the MIDI will deny any chance of that. This actually could give us a good series, Dan.
Yes, as Raph has now taken over. I mean, that was, I think, wrong weapon choice for me. should have used the rail slightly too conservative. But really fortunate to get out of that alive, Maxter, is he was in the worst position, but nevertheless hitting the shots he needs to hit, and that's what counts. But this is what we saw last map as well, is that Zenaku gets off to the fast start, and Maxter did have to fight his way back and claw his way back, which he did. It's a good rocket coming out there. Zenaku does pick up the heavy, and that will get him out just alive, as Maxter does instead decide to retreat, even though Zenaku was on 1 health.
Zenaku, very low, lucky to be alive on the escape play he was managed to pull off. Maxter playing with the ferocity though. He's going to drop the plasma trail and go all guns blazing, swinging in a couple of tags, but the movement fumbles and he gets left into this equation, which actually could work out quite nice overall anyway. Heavy wasn't up for another 2 seconds, and he blows Zenaku straight down.
He does. And this is still the benefit of having a heavy champion, no matter if they're the best pick or not, is that they're still a heavy champion, and that you can bully your way around the map, particularly in such a matchup as this where the champion is light. And that's what Zenaku is trying to do and has done successfully so far. But Maxter again adjusting somewhat, and this is the other advantage of having the light champion, is you have the speed to get in positions early to deal damage, and that is the key to fighting a heavy champion as a light champion, is you need to make sure you are the one initiating the damage, dealing consistent chip damage, because they're much easier to hit. And as long as you can keep whittling down their stats, that's when they become vulnerable.
We're nearly 5 minutes into this one. Very similar position to how the game started on Awoken as well. Zenaku takes a nice early round lead, again gets it with 3 frags on the board, and then Maxter starts to chip away. He plays aggressive, but he knows when to slow it down. Tempo seems to be quite good for him. Might as well be a basis with his level of understanding of the beat, trying to keep his damage out as well. Getting those small tags off, Dan, but this could be the next lethal one. As they both turn the corner at the same time, exchanging blow for blow, suspecting him to push up towards the Mega, drops the tri-bolt and bails.
Yeah, and then we can see as soon as Zenaku gets a clean item pickup, he goes on the advantage, because he knows... No way! What happened?
Oh, God! He's booped him when I think he was mid-air, and the momentum's just carried him over the edge.
Oh my God, that's such a depressing way to die when he had such a good stack.
Why does it always happen on Molten during finals?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's Keel. Wasn't it Keel last time we saw literally that happen at the Stage 2 final?
Oh my God, Jackie. This is fun.
It's a whole different game to what I expected, and I hope it actually can. I mean, if it maintains this, Dan, we're actually in for a good series. It's a best of 5 as well, so
yeah,
there's a lot of weight left on it.
I mean, there's 4 minutes on this map for something else to happen, as we still are tied up 2-2. Another low-scoring affair so far, but a lot of action coming out from both.
Well, a slower pace set to it from both of them. Zenaku basically just using the pineapple as a bit of a scouting tool to try and deny map control. Wide aggressive swing from Maxter, using that speed to launch himself back across.
Yeah, and he's done that so well. I mean, for me, he's slightly delayed on these items, which is, I would prefer to get there a second earlier, but as you say, using that speed to get in position and not take any damage as he does so. But this time he's a bit out of position, and Keel does steal away the Mega, but takes a rail for that as well. And as soon as that happens, as soon as Maxter misses out on a single major item, he has to play defensive, because that stack difference is just so big.
Really picking and choosing their fights well. Maxter would have been a lovely rail if he could have actually landed it, and it would have taken some of that initial buffer that Zenaku's got from picking up the Mega clean off him. Instead, hoping to do it with the rockets. Right now playing so defensively. Again, he's in a position where he feels comfortable to just waste as much time as possible. If he doesn't have to fight, that would be the dream, but it's these rails from Zenaku. He's landing some filthy pixel shots, Dan. He's pixel sniffing.
Yeah, that was absolutely disgusting. A back-to-back rail, as well as Maxter stuck around for 1/2 a second too long. Just shows how close these margins are. Can he get away this time? He does, but he's got nothing to work with Zenaku doesn't need to press the advantage. He knows he's not going to be able to catch him, but he's got him so low, it is a matter of time until he finishes him off, unless Maxter does something absolutely crazy. Another rail, but he is just alive.
Zenaku is doing piles and piles of damage at the minute, and Maxter is literally just have to play the game of cat and mouse. Scavenge whatever bubbles he can find, slowly replenish himself, and play from a distance. Mega's going to be up in 5. There's no way Maxter can get there. We've still got about 14 seconds on the split until Heavy comes into play as well. And look at the stack difference, Dan. Zenaku is looking ridiculous. It's like 4 raccoons in a lab coat. It's gigantic.
And the thing is, Zenaku has the lead as well. He obviously wants to press that advantage and get that extra buffer frag, but at the same time, knows that all it takes is one bad engagement to tie it up. So he doesn't want to take any risks at the same time, particularly in and around the area where he can go booping off the map. So at least sticking to the safe side is one little strategy you can employ.
They're just trying to play the time game as well. Zenaku's more than happy to do it. He invested into a stopwatch and he will waste that time. Here's him with the audio cues as Maxter's breezing around on those roller skates. The railgun's coming back through though, and Zenaku! I thought he was going off the edge again.
This is it. This is the advantage he needs. Maxter can afford to wait for the Mega if he needs to, but after hitting that rail, he knows he's got the initiative. He's just going to use the speed to go for one last encounter, and he does. He follows that up. Zenaku realizing he hasn't got the speed to get away, has to take a fight out in the open. And Maxter executes perfectly. And this is the thing, Zenaku couldn't make his pressure count. I mean, he let Maxter get away on a couple of health a number of times, and now he might even go down here as he takes a lot of damage. He's getting beaten to pulp, and he's dead. There's only 20 seconds left, Jackie. Is there anything Zenaku can do? He hasn't got any speed.
He needs to do something. As you said, he doesn't have the tempo in his favor. He can launch himself up, though. I mean, he gets there, but he can't do anything with it. He's got 10 seconds left. So much chip damage from a distance. Maxter continuously getting sorted. The HMG will rip him a new one. Slams him with a Rhino, Dan. It's taken us to sudden death. 4-4. Zenaku ties it up within a fraction of a second.
That was a cacophony of errors as Slash got stuck on the wall. Oh my God, he messed that up so badly, but it's not over. It's just overtime as we continue this brawl for survival.
You're right, Dan. It's not over. It's only just beginning between these two. It's 4-4 apiece. There is a better stack in play for Zenaku, especially once he buffs out the damage that Maxter has just done to him with that railgun, puts him into a good spot. It's all about the timing on this, though. So much more weight on this next frag, ideally for Zenaku as well, or else he forces himself into a position where he could lose if he drops another map. At least if he wins this on Molten, he could tie it up one map apiece, and that's going to be what he has his gaze set on. Starts the chase once again, needs to get out of range of the plasma trail and still keep his wits about him. Yeah,
it's so frustrating as a kill in these situations because you need to play the items, but you also need to catch your opponent when it's such an expansive map. How do you do that? That's the problem. So we can see that Maxter's just going to play this plus back game, hitting his rails as he's done before and trying to catch Zenaku in a choke point. If he can steal away an item, that's the bonus he needs, but there's going to be no overcommittal from Maxter for the next minute or two.
It's all about the timing as well. And Max is actually giving up all of these items because he knows he can't afford to be caught with his pants around his ankles, right? He's just sort of drop all map control over to Zenaku, and that could really come back to bite him because his stack's going to be so low. Up the bounce pad, Zenaku will spot him, and of course, he's going to frag him.
Yeah, there was a couple of fake rocket jumps coming out from Zenaku, and I think that's what set Maxter's senses off, because he was completely caught unawares there. I think he thought Zenaku was going to come up from that mid ground, but instead coming from the low ground. So real smart play from Zenaku. Definitely fortunate to win that map in the grand scheme of things when there was that final real mishap from Maxter in the way he messed that up getting away from Zenaku. There was no way he should have happened, but it did. And fortunately for Zenaku, he was able to capitalize upon that, play the way he needed to, and finish the map out.
Yeah. It is ridiculous as well. The fact like that final frag was what, maybe a second, 2 seconds on the clock before Zenaku was able to just shred through him with an HMG and at least keep himself in the game. Madness. I do hope that this is really the precedent we've now been set for the entire series. You've tied it up, one map apiece, basically just a fresh reset from this point forward, right? The interesting picks from Zenaku somehow saving his bacon.
Yeah, I mean, once you get the control, it's like turning a tanker for Slash, trying to wrangle your way back into the map. You have to create chaos and hit back-to-back shots to try and offset that huge stack advantage, and that's what Zenaku did well. Like he plays the items, he plays sound positioning, nothing too extravagant. I do feel he needs to step it up a little bit. Like, it does feel to me that Maxter has the edge when he's in control overall, but it's still one apiece, and that's what he needs to be doing at this point.
Yeah, you've just got to keep playing it as you have been. Obviously, that's like potentially the blessing in disguise for Maxter as well. Like sort of what you touched on at the start back on Awoken is the fact that obviously the pressure's still on him, but he's at home, right? He could be taking it a lot more relaxed in the sense of the environment he's in. It's not the quick panic of, right, get your config set, get on stage, get ready to play right now. He's had his time to warm up in the morning. He could have eased into it. He could be playing his Jimmy Jams if he wants, right? So he looks comfortable. And I think we're seeing that by the way he's playing in the server, which is definitely potentially a blessing for him.
Yeah, no, I think so. It was about 2 or 3 minutes in, and then suddenly there was just, as you said, this click, this shift in playstyle. And he does look comfortable. Like, he's still hitting great shots. He takes up these positions that clearly is uncomfortable for Zenaku. And this is another map, though, because there's no rail. And that's definitely been the blessing in disguise for Maxter throughout the series so far, and so I'm interested to see how he adjusts to that. And I've actually seen Zenaku put on some of his better performances on Corrupted Keep, so it's going to be a big test to Maxter, I think, this one.
Oh yeah, Zenaku is good on Keep, but I think they've both actually been relying on the rail as a bit of a crutch in some situations for the both of them over the course of this, Dan. So I don't know how much it's going to hinder them both here.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Zenaku, particularly last map, was heavily reliant on the rail. But as we saw, at least on the early stages of Awoken, Zenaku, when he gets into that methodical style of playing the items and taking the mid-range fight, that's where he was looking his strongest. Yeah. And so it is, I think, Maxter that definitely needs to adjust when it comes to this. That's a nice little trick there. Not picking up the item, catching Zenaku off guard. There was no audio cue.
A smart play.
And he is creative. That's what I really like about watching Maxter. He takes risks and he's creative.
We'll see if that ingenuity will keep up throughout the course of this one. We're a minute in, just a couple of small fights here and there. Little bits of chip damage coming out with the sneaky beaky plays that have come through from Maxter. Now he's on the Strog as well, so speed still being that reliant factor that he's had the whole way through the game. Mega's going to be snatched by Zenaku, and he gets launched off back towards the statue. Maxter will take his time to quickly readjust, hungry for the heavy, and of course he's going to claim it.
Yeah, we haven't spoken about the matchup between these two in terms of the Strog against the BJ. Nothing out of the ordinary there. They're both pretty common picks on this map. Strog with a slight speed advantage, BJ with that weaponry when he needs to on call. Yeah, fairly standard matchup as we do have a counter down here on the Mega, but the bit's already gone. I don't think Maxter's fully aware of that. He will be now as he backs off.
They're both doing very similar damage to one another. Every time one of them steals a major item, they barely scrape it off the top or force a small fight and then play passive. This has been what we've seen as a consistent key between the both of them over the course of the series. They don't like taking that fast tempo in the early game. They do like to speed it up once they feel confident to do so. Again, another Mega will go the way of Zenaku. So right now, the control is starting to go in his favor here on Keep. This could be the first time he gets both items in the same rotation as well. And Maxter, he's going to need to make his move soon. Start to try and chip some of that off of him. He can't hit him. The LG doesn't have that range, but now he'll start to slay, burning his way through him. He's so low, a rocket will finish him, and there it is. What? That's first blood. He had both major items, Dan.
What was that? I mean, he just looked like he got stuck and then had a bit of a brain freeze.
It was a blunder.
Yeah, that was bizarre, but Maxter, again, capitalizing. He's had the better position so far, and this is the way that Zenaku plays. He plays the items, but Maxter's working around that, making sure he's got control of the mid-ground at all times. And he's doing a considerable amount of damage, more than Zenaku. In a lot of these situations, he's letting Zenaku have the items in favor of the positioning. That was not ideal. An overcommittal there.
Tied up already. One apiece. Zenaku starting to build a bit of speed, bouncing round on the hunt for Maxter. Wants to locate him as they play this elaborate game of hide and seek with guns. Eventually he will actually spot him. Fires out the warning rockets, there's a little bit of damage towards the feet. The LG absolutely shred him as well. That was beautiful tracing from Zenaku. And he builds up another frag lead. Also going to start to scavenge the major items again. And Maxter could make his move towards heavy, but no, he probably won't be breathing by the time it actually spawns in. Zenaku fully commits towards the fight, is able to ward him off from it. And they're both left now in similar positions in terms of the stack after that hit.
Yeah, but it is Maxter that does come out having dealt a lot more damage, but Zenaku gets the item. And neither one is incredibly healthy, but Zenaku, unfortunately for him, does get the better of the health bubbles so far and is able to jump down, but just misses the kill as Maxter has to back away. I don't think he's got a lightning either, so can't afford to be getting in any sort of mid-range fight so far. Popped slightly preemptively there from Zenaku as he does want to follow in here. Good rockets from Maxter, delaying ever so slightly, but only delaying the inevitable.
Dual wheel, dual up, doing some damage with both of those guns. Using it aggressively as you like. And talking of the aggression, he's going to try and maintain that as well. Had a sneaking suspicion that Maxter was still holding on the close angle, was prepared for it as he swung, and now he's just riddling him, pumping him full of lead. But they've got to call quits on that fight. They can't overcommit to it.
No, he can't, but Maxter is the one that walks away with the major item. He's out of position to real contest for this heavy as well as Zenaku does secure it pretty well. There is going to be a big engagement here as one of them will go down. It is Maxter as he doesn't have the weaponry to kind of match up against Zenaku in that encounter, and he's building himself a healthy little lead here.
The issue is, I think it is ringing true of what you were saying at the start of this map as well. The fact that Zenaku, he's been in control. He's starting to get pretty much both of the major items per rotation, if not at least one of them every time. Maxter doesn't have that rail, right? So when they're going into fights, he's so much further down in terms of the overall stack. He can't chip him.
No, and Maxter's taking up some nice positions on mid-ground and dealing good damage, but neither one, particularly when it's Maxter needs to be doing this, is dealing enough long-range damage, using the HMD effectively and things like that. There needs to be more chip damage coming out, otherwise, as we've seen before, when he takes these mano-a-mano engagements, then they can definitely match up against that.
I've seen his arms on his Instagram. I know how much damage this man could do, and he's straight back into trying to do it again. The LG coming through as he'll begin to take this lightning fight from frightening heights, but it's all about the HMG, Dan, as he'll give him the sit down, and Maxter is out again.
And then Max definitely looks like he's struggling now against the way Zenaku's playing on this map. Completely outplayed at every single aspect. Does a lot of damage there, but it's not going to be enough as Zenaku does regroup, picks up his health, picks up the major item, and has plenty of time to regroup before the heavy as well. And time is ticking away here for, well, 3.5 minutes now. There's only 5 frags. It's not a huge amount for Corrupt to keep.
Maybe too tall of an order for Maxter though. He can't try and get himself back into the game soon. The Pika play not going to work out perfectly for him as well, and he's been absolutely punished as the rockets will consistently slam into him time and time again. Splash damage through the roof right now for Zenaku, and he's hungry for a chase as well. Playing with a tempo, launches himself back over towards the heavy, but he's going to wait. Doesn't want to try and take it immediately, muddies the timing, also goes in for another frag, which will go his way. This is the dream scenario for Zenaku. He's on autopilot here on Key.
That's it, and it's a little bit too easy for Zenaku. He looks incredibly confident now. As you say, just delaying items, bullying Maxter. Maxter doesn't have a chance, and this map is now steadily spiraled out of control for the Argentinian. Zenaku is going to walk away with a fairly comfortable victory, even though there's still 2.5 minutes left. I just don't see a way back in for Maxter. He hasn't shown any promise on this match so far.
It is looking like essentially, rather than Corrupted Keep being a keep down, it's a bar, and Zenaku is the bouncer, and he's just not letting him in. He's asked for his ID. He said, sorry, mate, not today. He's just kept him out at arm's length. Finally, Maxter at least does a bit of damage back. His windmills have connected somewhat and left Zenaku in a little bit of a lower position in terms of health. But with only 2 minutes left, can he actually win this bar bust-up?
I don't think so, because it's one thing to wrangle back control, it's another thing to get another 7 frags. He has got the speed, he has got the skill, but I don't think he has the time.
We'll see that as well. Looming over him, that constant ticking time bomb of the clock going by. At least overall in the series, it's tied, so it doesn't matter too much. If he drops this, he can just reset, try to take it as a best of 1 going forward, and don't overcomplicate it, but he needs to try and at least prove he's still got that fight in him into the rest of the series. The railgun was definitely a salient point, like we said.
Yeah, and this is the thing, that Zenaku, he won't give you an in. Like, he plays the basics, the fundamentals exceptionally well. There are some players where you can get in on them because they'll just have a little slip up here or there. Zenaku generally is not one of those players, and so you need to manufacture moments of greatness. And the rail is an exceptionally good tool for that, because you can do it from a safe distance. And you can build your play around that. And it looks like that's how Maxter enjoys playing. He hasn't seemed to have adapted to this railless style of playing a longer range chip game, taking up creative position to use the rockets. That's not where his strengths lie, and he doesn't look entirely confident on this map so far.
On to the final 30. Zenaku's just going for those middies, trying to save himself, taking this game and attempt to score a line. He will fall, and Max will set him up on a date with the coroner, but it really doesn't matter. At this point, it's just consolation frags to try and build confidence.
We didn't see either one of them really using their abilities that much either. I can't remember a good peeker or a good use of the akimbo either, so it was just a pretty standard duel that Zenaku came out top fairly comfortably.
I think we saw a couple of Pika plays, but they weren't really too impactful. They didn't do much, whereas actually at least with the dual wield, there was like 2 akimbo onslaughts where he absolutely slaughtered him. One with the LG back over by Mega, where he just ruined him straight off the bat. And I think there was one time with a double rocket as well. Other than that, as you said, it was just raw aim.
Yeah, it was fairly standard. Like, it didn't feel that Zenaku was tested too much. This was nice, the back and forth from Maxter. But yeah, it didn't feel like he was tested too much. As we said, like, he wasn't pushed out of his boundaries, played his basics well. Maxter wasn't able to adjust as he had done in previous encounters and previous maps.
No. And I suppose the bigger picture to that is was it just the arsenal that was available to him here on Keep, or was it a matter of him starting to run out of fuel, right? Obviously a best of 5, it's more of a long form format in the sense that you need to try and keep up that consistent level of dueling. If you think about it, if we went all 5 maps, right, that's 50 minutes straight of Quake, just time in, time out on the server of keeping up that A game. It is quite a mentally taxing game as much as it is more, you have to hit your shots. It's the mental game that I think a lot of people don't realize could really take its toll on you. I mean, obviously from your experience in the past, Dan, I suppose you'd be able to touch on that subject.
Yeah, it's the one thing I was never good at, so it's the one That's one reason I never did anything good.
I mean, I didn't want to say it. I was trying to set you up to be like, yeah, man, obviously, it's all about the brain. That's why I did so well. You just wrecked yourself. I don't even have to do my job for you.
I told you I'm going to carry you today, so it's all right. No, it's all good, yeah. And as you rightly say, for those people that either haven't played Duel or haven't played it at this level, as you rightly say, everyone's mechanical skill is always going to be up there. It's the mental game that separates the best from the rest. And I think even if we saw in the first series today, someone as good as Garpy just shows that I think mentally he wasn't as his sharpest today, and so that affects all aspects of the game. And it looks like Zenaku does seem to have cleared his head somewhat in this kind of a matchup.
Yeah. And you can definitely
It's
see
hard.
as well, like, it's the fallback for him, I suppose, which is like what we were saying about with the mental game is his control game is really good. And that's always been like a big point that we touch on every time we see him play in the weeklies, right? We're like, look, he's really good at control, but it just feels like there was something missing. We saw that kind of adapted when he started playing really aggressively, sort of Nosfer-esque in the way when he was going into a high pick matchup, he would try and play aggressive to counter that. But I don't even think now that that's like enough. There still needs to be something more to it, right? It seems like there's just one thing missing that could make him an absolutely unreal player compared to where he is right now, where it's like he is a great player.
Oh no, I completely agree with that assessment. Like, he's got all the ingredients to progress, and as you rightly say, it's just that cutting edge, the kind of extravagance that you need to take yourself to the next level. Because there's one thing playing good fundamental Quake, that's not going to win you against the best players. It's not going to win you championships. It's going to keep you in games and going to mean you're going to take maps. And that's what we've seen. And I know, obviously, circumstance and ping plays a part, but that's why we've seen him not win a series, but make sure a lot of them are close. Because he doesn't have, as of yet, that next level cutting edge that will take him to that. And he's definitely got the ingredients to do it. It's just finding that next level.
Well, let's see if he can find his feet and show us that killer instinct as we slip back into the game. There's an Athena in play as well, and it is light on light action, Dan. We don't get these too often, and it is very exciting, especially when it's here.
Yeah, these are the type of matchups where you get a lot of action because there is no big discrepancies in stack and everything's a battle, and they've always got good utility, so we should see some action. And we got the rail back as well. And Blood Covenant notoriously is a heavy rail map. Let's see, I think definitely for me, Zenaku is the person who needs to make a bigger adjustment on here. As we've seen in previous encounters that Maxter is very comfortable now. He's got that rail to work with. And interested to see what he can do with the Athena as well. So a lot of people can play a good Athena.
It's kind of that double-edged sword of if you can play her well, you can do very well on Blood. But if you can't, you will struggle. And those shots from Zenaku are definitely a telling sign that he's still coming out hot off the presses on this one. Maxter trying to land those flicks with the rail almost instantly as well. So still fired up and ready to rumble. They'll both battle over control of the heavy, but Maxter will backpedal into it and now start to keep his belly low to the ground, keep himself out of trouble for a minute.
Yep. Just feeling each other out in these initial engagements, playing the range game, neither one stringing rails back to back, so there will be no committal until something like that happens. And obviously it's difficult to fully trap a Nyx when she's got her Ghost Walk, similarly through Athena when she's got those grapples as well. They've both got the utility to get out of bad situations or indeed create them. But Zenaku at the moment is definitely getting the better of these engages with the rail.
Yeah, he is doing so much damage from afar. Maxter was forced into grappling himself. Oh my god, the Argentinian space program, Dan!
That's not something we see a lot.
Oh, that's so rough.
Did he not have any grapples? I felt like he could have grappled his way back down.
I think he tried. It looked like he tried to like cast one out, the grab onto something, but he just couldn't get an angle on anything to pull himself back in.
That is hilarious and unfortunate at the same time.
That is the roughest way to die as well.
It really is,
this early into a series in terms of how you just could be like, all right, sick. Oh, actually, that could have been sick. He's done so much damage. He's actually got this back into a one-to-one frag score line. What is going on? He's busted out a minigun, Dan.
Look at how powerful the HMG is against light champions. He's melting Nyx. Who needs a rail?
Apparently right now, the only thing he needs, that HMG in his hand to absolutely annihilate Zenaku at every given opportunity. Keeping himself on the high ground once again. The rockets coming through. Beautiful move.
Oh, that's so nice.
Oh, the grapple though. If he could have got the follow-up off Dan, it would have been sick.
Athena is so fun to watch. It would have been amazing. Is that last rocket was so close to connecting with Nyx as well, which would have finished Zenaku off. But unfortunately for him, Maxter that is, he doesn't connect, but he does get all the items. So Nyx is still very much on the back foot, but she does have that Ghost Walk up. She's pretty much locked to that low ground. Now Zenaku, not the best position to be in, but Maxter also doesn't want to overcommit because it is dangerous to drop into those areas. Definitely want to play slightly slower, connect with the rails before connecting.
He's got tons of time as well. It's not like he needs to rush anything. From the position he was in, where it looked like the confidence was just gone, right? You're straight off the map. I mean, he's doing 360s now as well, so he definitely is fired up. The adjustment's nice. Like, in terms of game sense, I gotta give it, Maxter looks pretty damn strong coming into this. The map geometry understanding's there, movement's nice. Mechanically, he's sound. He just needs to carry on hitting his shots.
What he's doing a good job of is making sure he's trying to pressure Nyx in and around the items. That's something that Zenaku didn't. Oh, as he does overcommit using that Ghost Walk, he's in a lot of trouble now without that up, and he will be going down fairly comfortably. That's something Zenaku didn't or hasn't done awfully well so far, is that when, is he going to jump off? Is that when he's been in control, he's just played the items, whereas Maxter's going out of his way to try and pressure Nyx outside of item pickups, which means A, Nyx can't compete for the items, and B, is consistently low on stack. Zenaku does want to commit for the Mega, but he's far too early, and just look how powerful those grapples can be.
If, like, you actually clipped the 20 seconds between both of those frags where he was using the grapple for the movement and how he was taking the fights with the grapple to take really interesting, weird angles and make it hard for Zenaku to adjust to hit him, you could clip that and do that as, like, a trailer just to show Athena as a champion. Because it was really smooth.
He's also making a real conscious effort to control the time files as well. Obviously spoken about it a lot in the past, about how important they are for Nyx, but it just mitigates how much uptime you have via Ghost Walk, which is obviously the biggest part of her utility. She is now in a lot of trouble as Maxter does push in and has to pop that Ghost Walk. He is going to be able to track her down as well, as Nyx is far out of position. Picking up the heavy is going to benefit her, and she does sneak away.
He's still got one grapple in reserve. Got firepower to play with as well. He's just spamming. He's a big fan of the HMG.
Oh yeah, he's realised that that's the way forward.
Oh yeah.
His rail wasn't connecting in these. He was losing out essentially on these long-range rail battles. He's good at hitting the peak rails, the flick rails, but when he was going one-on-one against Zenaku, he wasn't winning those, and so he switched to the HMG. It's a clear strategy choice.
I think it's just the way he aims as well. You can see, like, he's effective at tracing. That's not the dream, though. Zenaku basically just elbow drops him off the top, drops down, busts out the shotty. Maxter has to say hello to Big Papa Pump, and that's it. He's down and out. 2 frags still for Zenaku to try and climb back in here on Blood if he wants to tie this one up. But time is ticking away. We don't actually have that long left. Definitely enough time to tie it, but he's going to need to start to do so soon. That's an aggressive Ghost Walk coming out. Oh no! He was trying to take it from the inside out, Dan, but he couldn't get in.
Why did he take so long to shoot?
I think,
oh
like,
my God!
He must have maybe either actually been onside him on his end and got interped, or he genuinely just thought that, like, he was gonna walk into it. I don't know. That was odd, because the delay from the shooting is like the only bit that makes it weird.
Yeah, that was. I mean, it worked out perfectly. I am a huge fan of aggressive Ghost Walks. Obviously, they're higher risk and require good executional skill to make them work, but they're so powerful. Got another one here, but Dina does skirt herself away using that grapple again to the other side of the map. But Nyx does follow up here with the lightning gun. Look at that grapple, but what a rocket from Maxter, but it's not going to be enough as Zenaku drops down with a shotgun to the face.
I mean, now we're tied up, Dan. 4 apiece.
Oh.
I said, all right, time's ticking away. Game's getting close. In the space of a minute, we're back. It's all neutral. Oh.
As we carry on, Zenaku has good control of the high ground now, and Maxter's obviously struggling a little bit without any items. Zenaku, as I said before, wasn't putting enough pressure. He's doing exactly that now. He's taking much more initiative than he was before.
This is it. So reminiscent of the whole series, where once it gets close and towards that final, like 60 seconds, both of them do go, okay, let's take a bit of a back seat. They'd rather take that final fight and make that be the impactful one, rather than running any risks of losing it out here in normal regulation.
No, exactly. And Zenaku's obviously the one with the initiative and the momentum, but has done the job he needed to do to tie it up. There's no reason to risk it as these rails come stringing in from Maxter. Zenaku has to retreat rapidly.
The final 30 seconds, it's all to play for, and Zenaku he uses that Ghost Walk to reposition as well, leaving himself potentially susceptible to an attack. If the rail landed, he would have been so low, but talking of rails actually connecting, Maxter fires back through. He also gets the Mega. Zenaku needs to Zena run away as fast as he possibly can and get out of there. Maxter still just shot after shot, barely missing that.
Yeah, but at the same time, because of that, he's given up map control. Like, he'd done enough to steal away. All he needed to do was take that heavy and then pressure, but instead wanting to kill the game in that moment, and it's not paid off for him as he now has to go back and start all over again.
Oh, well, this could be him finishing it right here, right now, though, if he can just go through and double up. He got the shots off. The timing is perfect for Zenaku as he gets the Mega, uses the Ghost Walk to get away. They're so close on stack, and he takes the aggressive rail, the hurty-verty straight down, and Zenaku will do it. Secures it 5-4 there.
That was bizarre. I mean, that was such a great series overall. I mean, I was hugely impressed with Maxter from start to finish. Zenaku he does what he does so well, right? He keeps game close, he plays the basics well, mechanical skill is strong, nothing too flashy. There were some amazing moments when he used the Ghost Walk aggressively there, some really unusual moments as well. I think at the end of the day, it was the experience that shone through. I think Maxter has a lot of potential. He needs to get the experience to start fulfilling that, but I was impressed.
Yeah, like overall it was incredible to watch how much of a fantastic series that really was. Welcome back, boys. Obviously, Ryan, Flea, both of you got to see that one from the comfy seat, having a bit of a spectate. What did you think about that bust-up?
I mean, I think that if you are in Zenaku's position, this is like his first hurdle, isn't it? Because we know that he had a rocky road reaching this point, and absolutely, if you were in Zenaku's position, this was like the most important match. It's different from Sparty, because Sparty's been playing like super well, and there's obviously really stiff competition that he's been going up against. But with Zenaku, and the fact that he's kind of consistently struggled against the rest of Americas, this was without question like the most important series he's going to play all weekend, for him personally. So the fact that he's been able to kind of stand strong, and definitely, I mean, he was tested, right? This wasn't a one-sided ordeal.
Oh yeah.
And the maps, they kept coming down to those last minutes, those sudden deaths that really test even the best of them. But all round, I think he's going to be happy with it.
Absolutely. I think there was some really good games, some very close maps. Very impressed with Maxter too, even though he didn't come out on top this time. He clearly showed that he has got what it takes to go toe-to-toe against some of the best players, some of the established pros in the league right now. But ultimately it was Zenaku coming out on top. There were definitely quite a few things that stood out, some really nice shots from both players. I'm particularly impressed with Zenaku's win on Molten Falls, beating a Slash, especially when it's someone as good with her as Maxter is on a map like that, playing as Keel. That's a very impressive feat. So GG's, I think it was a very deserved victory for Zenaku, but a close series nevertheless.
That fake rocket jump was delicious as well. Just quick.
Yeah, that was really nice.
Yep. Talking of rocket jumps, I mean, rockets as well. We literally saw Maxter become one when he just got launched off the map. It's absolutely ridiculous. The amount of ring outs we get in finals, it feels like we save them up just to have all of them at once at finals.
I think Molten Falls has a gravitational pull.
It's got its own orbit, you're right.
100%, there's got to be like a new version of the map or something whenever there's a finals that just has that vacuum effect.
I mean, it just keeps happening, right? It's too often to just be a coincidence. There's something... Rafa placed a curse on the map with that one famous ring out on the ledge, and now it's just getting to every single player in the league. So getting into Molten Falls, I always instinctively start holding my breath. And here we are again, even on Blood Covenant, the map where there's really only one place to fall to your death. And Maxter still managed to find it, so good fun.
I think, yeah.
Oh, no, go on, Ryan.
I think online delay might always be a bit of a smasher, but I think, yeah, given the massive difference in distance between these two players as well, they played exceptionally well given the circumstances. I think that really needs to be brought up and definitely not underestimated.
No, I'd also say as well, for me, I was just going to touch on the fact that I'm really just impressed by Maxter as a whole. It's it's actually a shame, obviously, we can't have both of them. We can't have more people in the league because he's showing a level of play that I feel like it's fast, it's furious, there was a lot of aggression there. His rail work was great. Overall, I'd say the thing that really stuck out for me was the mechanics. His aiming was on point. You could see his tracing was very good, but it was also his actual movement. Apart from a couple of small blips towards the end when we got onto Blood, which I just feel like purely at that point, it might have been the pressure starting to get onto him. Like, well, look, if I drop this is it. It's my chance done. I'm back at square one. I've got to try again next time, right? Maybe that could have been what affected him to have a couple of misplays with the Athena a couple of times. Other than that, I think he looked really good.